Hello and welcome to another very exciting episode of 21 Questions on Entrepreneurship. 21 Questions on Entrepreneurship is that podcast where we provide answers to all the questions asked by entrepreneurs in Africa. And we do this by talking to entrepreneurs who are rolling their sleeves and doing the work in the continent of Africa. This podcast is brought to you by Softcom. Softcom is an innovation company that is focused on inclusion and growth for Africans wherever they may be. And they believe in a world where everyone can be elevated, impacted, because they have access to intuitive digital solutions. Today, we're going to continue our episode on business partnerships. I have an exciting, innovative entrepreneur in the house. He is the founder of the So Fresh Neighborhood Market. His name is Mr. Olagoke Balogun. Welcome, Goke.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
How's it been? Talk to us.
That's good. Navigating the challenges, operating a business in Nigeria, but yeah, we're doing it.
I mean, I think we should open another episode for all the challenges that entrepreneurs have and navigating in Africa. But today we're going to be talking specifically about business partnerships. But before we go into that, I want to congratulate you for your 10th year anniversary.
Thank you very much. Thank
you. I know that you celebrated in the COVID year, 2020. So can you just tell us how that experience was a bit?
Yeah, I mean, it was, I don't know if I can call it like bittersweet. When we started the year 2020, we had big plans to celebrate the 10th anniversary. We were already planning for that. We were supposed to start even celebrating from, April till November.
And COVID hit.
And then COVID hit, and all we were preoccupied is, how to survive, how to keep the business afloat and all of that. So yes, we did celebrate in November. It was a good one. It won't come again. We will only be 10 once. So we did celebrate, and it was quite amazing looking back at the journey. The grit, the resilience. Having to weather the storms, and being here 10 years after, it was a real blessing.
Nice. I'm going to ask you some questions as to how you weathered the storm, how you navigated the challenges COVID brought. But just give us a brief intro into what the So Fresh Neighborhood Market is about.
All right. So Fresh is Nigeria's pioneer and leading healthy food chain. We provide fresh, nutritious and healthy meal to our customers across Lagos, Ogun, and Abuja. So every day we sell salads, juices, smoothies, parfait, and all fresh and healthy meals, across all our locations. Because we do delivery as well, office, home, and all of that across our e-commerce site and social media channels. So basically that's what So Fresh is, to provide healthy meals and, inspire people to live, the healthy lifestyle.
And then this healthy meat supply was staggered by COVID-19. You had to implement new policies just so that you can navigate that time. Can you just share with us, how it was for you? You had said it was your 10th year, you had plans to celebrate. How were you able to? The stores were shut down, businesses suffered. What was it like for So Fresh?
Yeah, it was quite tough. We had to shut down our business for about 2 weeks, but of course, because we're a food business and we were classified as essential, so we opened back some stores. We had 10 stores. We started the year with 10 stores. The goal was to end with 16.
Wow, 10 stores around Africa,
around
Lagos,
Nigeria, Lagos and Abuja.
Right.
And then when the lockdown happened, we had to close all of them. And then after 2 weeks, we opened about 2 or 3. And, we had to face challenges of, logistics, moving things around, getting things into the store, getting things to the customer, even getting staff to work, became quite a huge challenge. Of course, demand completely, wiped out, down to about 10% of what it was, because a lot of our stores were in commercial areas. People were not going to work. Even people that were home now probably think, they could make it themselves. People are not going out and all of that. So, demands, went out completely. We managed to keep, the bulk of our staff till around June, when it was obvious that things were not going to return back as quickly as we thought. We had to allow some people to leave temporarily. thankfully, by the end of the year, we reabsorbed everybody back.
Nice.
And then we just had to innovate around logistics. So for some, we provided accommodation for staff close, to the store area. We did not open a lot of stores. So where we had like 10 stores, we had 5 stores open so that they can serve the rest of the area. So we had to invest more in logistics, partner with logistic companies to help with delivery. We also had to now be very bullish with our online platform. We've always done well on, across our e-commerce sites, social medias, but now we had to put a bit of steam. We had to do some online ads. We did not used to do online ads because possibly we didn't need it, but we had to start doing online ads, Facebook, Google, to put, the product in the face of people. We have to get like permanent logistic guys so that we can, get approval for them from government to allow them move around with our staff. Yeah, so it was just every day thinking about how to solve the different challenges that was coming up.
Let me ask you, as a human, as an entrepreneur, because I remember the time vividly. It was a discombobulating time. Nothing was certain. No one knew what to do.
Absolutely nothing.
And you had gone from 10. You had gotten 90% of your demand taken. You had staff that you need to reassure and assure that we are going to do something as an organization. How did you feel? And you have a business partner, which is where I'm coming from. Like, what decisions did you get? Did you guys hold hands to say, hey, let's pray, hey, let's do this? Did you go to your board?
We did everything. We prayed, we talked, we had meetings, and with the management team, with the board. It was a lot of deliberation on how we're supposed to position, right? And Charles, I can tell you, for the first time after 9 years, I thought to myself, maybe I should have never left paid employment.
Wow.
Because suddenly I had the faith of over 130 people in my hands, the decisions I took, and all of that. And some of them were completely out of my hands, right? It was a situation. So I just felt, maybe if I had stayed in paid employment, I wouldn't be bothered. I was just bothered about doing my work. I'll be working from home and getting my salary. But now I have to think about this amount of people, their families, and all of that. So it was a really tough period. Having a partner really helped, because then you have someone you can always, talk with. You can always, lean on each other, gain insights, when someone is really feeling, I think that's what we've also perfected. When someone is feeling frustrated, the other person, is upbeat and encouraging and, providing possible solutions, and then, vice versa. So it made it, much more, tolerable to navigate that period.
Right.
Yeah.
So in the first episode of this series, which is Business Partnership, we had 2 innovative founders. They happen to be ladies, right? And they had met and gone into partnership, and their situation is quite different from yours, because in this case, your wife is your business partner. Yeah. Let's just travel down memory lane. How did you go into business with your wife? You were in paid employment before. When did you quit? Who brought the idea up? Just take us down memory lane.
Yeah, so it just kind of happened, right? So I got the idea, and then I shared the idea with my wife, thinking she was not going to think that it was a really good idea.
Okay, so you were in paid employment at the time.
I was in paid employment.
She was in paid employment.
She was running her own private law firm,
right?
And company secretarial duties. So she had clients and all of that.
You both were already married for how long?
We were married for 3 years.
3 years.
3 years.
Okay, so 3 years down the line, you just wake up and say, "Hey, bro, what do you think about this?"
I got this idea. I think we should sell fruits and vegetables, because I didn't like the experience at the market growing up now with my wife. So it was just for us to have a modernized, setting, like a farmer's market, to buy fruits and vegetables. That was the idea. And then I actually tried to paint it very negatively. I said, would you like to sell oranges and peppers? And she said, why not? She thought it was a brilliant idea. And so we just kept talking about it, kept researching, and the idea formed. And because of the kind of bond we've shared, we were college, school sweethearts. We've known ourselves for many years, so we shared a very good bond, and so it was just natural for us to to do it together. Yeah.
Okay, so what was the first year like after when you started to test, when you resigned from your office and she left her law practice?
So I didn't resign for the first year. Both of us started
as a side hustle.
Yes, what you now call a side hustle. Yeah, because I kept my job actually for 6 years into the business. She kept down for like 2.5 years or 3 years thereabout into the business. So we had to test it out first. It was really challenging the first 3 years. It didn't work out. Remember, this was 2010. Not many Nigerians talked about healthy living.
Right.
It was not, the awareness was not even like this around the world about the impact the food you eat have on, on the quality of your life. So we almost started a bit ahead of the curve. So it wasn't really accepted. I always joked that Nigerians didn't consider salad as food in 2010. I mean, why would you eat salad as a full meal? So we had all those, market barriers. So it was very difficult. And around the 3-year marks, we actually thought about quitting. Seriously, quitting. But then we took a step back, looked at all we had done, and then we made some changes. We changed the location, changed the business name, changed the focus of the products we were serving and the services, and then business picked up in 2013.
Okay, so the business picked up 3 years after you did these changes.
Yeah, it was a very rough 2013. By this time, she had resigned. I was working, so we were basically funding the business with our savings.
Yes.
And then we just thought this didn't make sense. Why are we going to keep funding this business with our savings? But then we said we'll give it one more push in 2013, and that's what we did.
And some of the push resulted to her leaving her job and focusing on it full time.
Yeah,
the change of the name. What was it called before?
It was called Fruity Veggies. So fruits and vegetables, because we were just supposed to be a fruit and vegetable store.
Yeah.
And then by that time, we started doing meals, juices, smoothies, 1 or 2 salads. And we thought we should get a name that captured the essence of everything we did, not just fruits and vegetables. So we changed the name to So Fresh in 2013. We moved to Ikoyi, which, with the benefit of hindsight, was a really gutsy move. We had to invest more, moving from Ogba, very small corner shop, and then moving to Ikoyi. But that was what changed the trajectory of the business.
Right. Interesting. So, your wife is a business partner, right? So how does it work?
A sweet one at that.
So I can't imagine. Please rub it in for people like us who haven't gotten married and looking for.
Ori.
Okay, so let's see. Do you have what are the? Do you have work hours? Because this is your wife. This is the business, right? So how do you then separate the personal times for the kids and vacation and home economics to the business itself? Is it for you from when you open your eyes, she's next door, she's next to you, and then you just pull up your laptop and say, let's have our first meeting here? Is it from when you open your eyes to when you shut your eyes, or you draw the line to say, listen, these are the only times we can talk about this business, and this is when we cannot?
So we've passed through many phases of that. We've learned through the process. So it's always quite challenging working with your spouse, because then you have to balance the emotional part of it to the business side of it. I think what we did early on that also helped was we created very good structures around what our roles are, what our expectations are. We made sure we settle that within ourselves. We're also clear what the vision and the philosophy of the company we are going to run will be, because things like that are what causes issues. So what's the goal? Is it to expand, to become big? Is it to take profit immediately and enjoy the proceeds? None of it is bad. It's just about what do you want for the business. So we had a talk along all those lines. We were aligned, but even at that, of course, we had situations where the two parts that we were fulfilling for each other got in the way. Like I said, there was a point in time where it was all about the business. So when we wake up, when we're in the dining, we're on the way to church, and we have to catch ourselves at a point in time and say, no, this is not healthy, this is not working. We're not even caring about ourselves. We're all just caring about the business. and we had to now restructure the things. Part of the big changes we made was so since 2012, I think, or 13, we've always made sure that we dropped our kids in school and picked them up from school
together,
sometimes but at least one person had to do one of the trips, or sometimes mostly when we're going, we do it together. That simple change, that time we took them to school was a bonding time for us. So we just had to make some deliberate changes along that line and tell ourselves, it wasn't easy. Sometimes we still fall back and we just forget ourselves and it's all about business, but because we've identified those things, it's easier to correct and just keep growing through that process. Decision making also becomes an issue because you're husband and wife. When someone takes a decision in the business, you kind of tend to interpret it from the fact that maybe because he's my husband or it's my wife and all of that, but giving that room for open communication, constantly talking about the decisions we're making and all of that, really also helped us. And the last thing I'll probably say is that, people should allow each other room to grow and shine. So we quickly identified what our own area of strengths are, what are my own areas of strength, and we had independence to take decisions, to take actions. Yes, from time I had always acted as the MD or CEO, but my word was not always the last. If she was better equipped, so I see her as, so at the point in time she was the operations manager, and that's how I see her. So if she's giving me an advice from the operations perspective, I am relating with her at that level. I'm not relating with her like, is my wife talking to me?
Right.
At that point, is the operations manager of So Fresh talking to me? So is in being very deliberate about how you share roles, how you allow each other to grow, to shine, and all of that.
I like that. I like the fact that you leverage off each other's skills, and then you spread the decision making process. In this case, you're both co-founders, right? Are you both co-CEOs?
No. We've had different roles. There was time I was not even working full time in the business, so she was managing the business full time. There was time I used to refer to myself as just a strategic advisor because I was not in the business. And, and then so we just passed through. Right now, I'm the CEO. She's the COO.
Okay.
We both sit on the board.
And that's how. So, is it a case of, because you're both co-founders, she's in operations, you're the chief exec. So you both have to agree on the decisions together, or you veto every decision?
No, I don't veto. No, I don't even veto all decisions. Even other managers make, right. But there are times, especially in the early days. Now we almost don't have issues around because everybody already has like their own areas of responsibilities and all of that. But in the early days, the mid days, we had issues where I thought this was the way to go. She thought it was the way to go. What usually happens is someone just has to back down and see.
That's what I'm talking about. So who backs down? Do you just back down as the man all the time, or you let her see reasons?
No. So it depends on what the situation is, and depends on maybe how convinced I am that this is the way to go. So if it has to do with maybe policy or something about long term, sometimes I like let's do it this way. If I feel that she has more experience or more knowledge in that area and I have a different perspective, then sometimes I defer to her. Sometimes the difference doesn't come easy. Sometimes we have arguments, and all of that. And then we just let's try. As long as we both want the same thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's what has always worked. We always want the same thing, but sometimes the way we want to arrive there different, and because of different personalities. She's an action person. I'm more of the
strategic guy.
Yeah, planning and all of that. So sometimes that's even what causes issues. So she's thought about something, she's moved on with it. She's not even talked to me about it. I'm like, why are we doing this? We've not talked about it. We've not planned. We've not looked at the resources.
And she's like, time is of the essence.
She's already acting. And then sometimes she's like, I thought we were supposed to do this thing 2 weeks ago. Why have you not done? I'm like, I'm still trying to figure things out. No, we should have done. So, things like that, used to cause a lot of rift. But now we found out that, we all have, strengths, and they're both useful, line of, thinking. So actually, I have now become I've moved slightly more to, being acting faster. She has also moved slightly to, planning and taking her time better. So, I mean, we've just kind of, learned from each other over time. Yeah.
Okay, but you have said that there are times where, she was not satisfied with the action that you took. Did she take that to the home or just left it at the office? And if she did, how did you manage it?
So sometimes it gets to the home. There's no how you can escape it. So, and ours is funny because we are always going and coming back together. So, it's this guy that took this action I didn't like in the office, and it's still the same guy that wants to kiss me at home. So, you really can't divorce it, but isn't just working at it. And when things do go, as unexpected, you talk about it. You're open with each other, respectfully, and with a view to finding a solution, not with a view to I am right, I'm going to win, and all of that. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. So I remember when I started, right, many times, because it was a social enterprise. Every time I went to talk to people, they're just like, oh, it's nice, but who's behind this? Who's behind this business? Do you have a board? So that got me thinking about, setting up an advisory board. And so when I go there and I call some names, they'll be like, okay, so if this person is thinking about this or is behind you or understands your vision, maybe we could give it a try. But what's it in your case? When did you think, as a founder and with your wife, a business partner who's the co-founder, when did you guys think that it was the right time to set up a board? And then how did you go about, setting up that board? And what role does the board play in your business?
So we'd always known that at a point in time we're going to have a board, so it was just a matter of time. But what eventually made us go for it was when we're going to raise our first, outside financing equity, and they were institutional investors, and they wouldn't just give money to this one guy and his wife. So one of the requirements was that we set up a board. So that was like the tipping point. So we did set up a board at that point. 2018. Okay. Very early Q1 2018.
So this was 8 years into running the business.
This was 8 years into running business. We had we had done it by ourselves. Of course we had advisors, people we ran to for advice and all of that, but we didn't really have a board. So, but with the benefit of hindsight, I would say, as fast as possible, if you can start your business with an advisory board, it helps. It helps you with structure, it helps you with accountability, it helps you with even outside network, outside of your of where you are, and with the experience and knowledge they have, they can also guide you better in taking decisions. They play a very important role for us right now. It's strategic. They help with access, network, because we have 3, 4, 5 people, they all have their own circle, their own networks, right. And they can help you, give you access, introduce you to places, and they really provide that accountability. That you're not just doing this by yourself. You have people you are accountable to, people that can ask you questions about your results, about your performance, and I think most importantly, other persons to lean on, especially if you don't start or have a co-founder, right? Mm-hmm. You're just all by yourself. You could get lonely. Sometimes you're not even sure of the decision you're making. So this the board serves as a sounding board where they can help guide, refine, and even assure you of of what's going on.
Okay, so how did you determine who the right person to approach to join the board?
Okay, a number of things. So we looked at what were our own strengths, right. What were we really good at that possibly we didn't need a lot of help on. That was where we started from. So for example, we don't have someone that has a legal background on the board yeah. Because Bimbo is a lawyer. She practiced at state level, personal level, and all. So she has we didn't need that skill. If we had something she couldn't solve, maybe because she has not practiced for long, we have a company lawyer. So right. We looked at the skills that were going to be necessary for helping the business move to the next stage. We also looked at people that have done what we were trying to do. So we looked for who are the retail success in Nigeria that had, multiple 20, 30, 40 outlets. So one was about skill and competence they can add to the company. The network, looking at what kind of network we want to access. The other thing, of course, has to be character. People of good character, people of good standing in the community, and all of that. And then, in our own case, which we didn't do, another thing to do is you want to balance around gender.
Yes.
You want to balance because then it gives you different perspectives. Interestingly, we have more women, right, on our board. Balancing around also geographic location is also helpful, because then, especially if you want to grow and expand, physical stores, you just had more context around the board, around the room. So you're just looking at what you need, what are the things that can advance the business, and then you select for those things.
Okay. Thank you so much, Goke. Before I let you go, this book, 21 Questions on Entrepreneurship, there was a question here from someone far away in Hungary. And it says, Dear Charles, what's your advice on partnership in business? And how do I get the right business partner? I don't want anyone to come and shine me in my business or take over the business that I've started. So this is a guy who started a business and he needs some advice. We've answered this question from two friends who have come together to start a business. I want you to answer from a guy who has found a business partner and his wife.
So what I would say is, the first thing is to be clear what the business wants to achieve. When the goal is clear, the vision, the mission, the purpose, why the business is starting, it's easy to get someone on board and determine if they are aligned. So once you set the goal, the first thing is that both of you must be aligned on what the goal for the business is, and then the philosophy of what the business is. For people that come to start a business, competition or outshining should not be part of what is in their mind.
Right.
It's now a joint work, and you're trying to achieve this, this together. I would say set boundaries. If possible, very early on, get an agreement on some key things. Things that involve operations, things that involve money, very important. To share the agreement. It doesn't have to be very elaborate, but you can get a lawyer to help you look around because never say never, right? Never say never. I've had husbands and wife, run businesses, and they have, agreements, cause divorce, and then it now became an issue of who's going to take what and all of that. Yeah. So it could get messy. You never know. So get an agreement in place, identify those things that are important and how you are going to navigate those, important issues. If you get a very good legal person, they already know what are the possible issues around that. Yeah. So, and then have clear roles, have clear duties. Don't just say we are partners. What are you bringing to the table? Are you responsible for operations? Are you responsible for logistics, admin, HR, all of that? So share roles, share responsibilities, and make each person accountable, and responsible for it.
Right. Yeah. I let me say this. I actually love your business partnership with your wife.
Thank you.
Which has produced this phenomenal business that has grown from a single location to over 10 locations in 10 years.
We're 14. We're 14 now.
14.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's good.
Thank you.
So my last question before you go. We've seen business that are started, like you said, by people who are in a marriage, and the marriage splits, and then they had to now share the business and all. If you're gonna do this again, will you do this with your wife?
Yes, if I'm going to do this again, I'm going to do it with my wife. But of course, I'm going to take some of the learnings if I have access to it. Yeah. I'm going to take some of the learnings and even make it better, because some periods around the 3-4 was quite rough. Yeah, 3-4-5 was quite rough. For us, it's been a very fulfilling journey. Sometimes I think it took a whole lot from us. There are times I feel like maybe if we didn't run this business, maybe we wouldn't, have had some of the difficult times in our marriage and all of that, But with the benefit of, the knowledge I have, probably have done things differently, but I'll still do it.
You'll do it again with her, again and again.
Again, yeah.
Thank you so much, Goke, for sharing with us. Okay, that's where we draw the curtain on this episode of 21 Questions on Entrepreneurship. Remember, you can subscribe. Just click on the link below to subscribe to this podcast, and you can order the book. Follow us on the website that's been shown down on the link, and you can order a copy of this book. And we'd like to hear from you. Send us an email. Follow us on social media. Let us get your questions, and we promise that we will bring answers to all of the questions that's bothering you. Entrepreneurship can be a very lonely journey, and then if you get someone to walk this path with, especially a partner like us at 21 Questions on Entrepreneurship, we're glad to provide those answers for you and clarity. So till we come again your way next time, go out there and start something.